Oh, absolutely.
That's astonishing.
That's Hugh Jackman. What a find! You know? Like he just stepped into to poop basically because he was not the first person that was considered for that role. I think it was Dougray Scott who was supposed to get.
Dougray Scott was supposed to be Wolverine.
Yes, right.
And what ends up happening?
He
Mission Impossible. Was it 2 or 3? It was 2, I think, at the time.
Mission Impossible 2. That's just. Yeah. You don't want to even. Yeah. You don't want to even come out into the public again.
No, there's no way. There's no way.
You gave that up you gave up Wolverine to be
in Mission Impossible 2, which, you know what? No, honestly, little movie with Bryan Singer about a comic book versus making a movie
with John Woo.
With John Woo and Tom Cruise.
Yeah.
You at the time, you can't hold him responsible for that. That was a right decision at the time.
Yeah.
Wrong decision ultimately in life.
But isn't it amazing? Like that's
because Hugh Jackman's career is going to survive even being in this circus movie. That's not doing so great.
You're allowed to have bad movies here and there, right?
It's doing all right. Yes, but I mean, some people don't survive it. Hugh Jackman is going to be able to walk away from pretty much everything.
No, he's solid. He's solid.
He's all right.
He's a Tony Award winner too. So I mean, like he can always fall back to the stage.
Yeah, he's annoying.
You know,
he's very annoying.
We actually have the greatest show set up for you because Hassan is in the exact polar opposite mood that I'm in.
Oh,
like
boy.
I'm actually like super jovial.
I'm always like that.
And he's like, well, you're actually a little bit. You're a step
grumpy.
below. You're grumpy.
I could be grumpy.
Cantankerous. Hassan.
No, it's good. It's good for ratings. It's good for everything.
Is it really?
It's good for
Is that
everything.
what people tune in for?
I agree. Yes, absolutely.
All right. Well, I'll make sure
I'm here.
So
Absolutely.
let's jump onto what makes Logan such a big accomplishment, right? Logan's best adapted screenplay, which I thought was good. I guess Old Man Logan. I guess.
Which is funny because Old Man Logan is not acknowledged, as I understand it, in the credits.
Right. The post-apocalyptic Western is loosely based on the Old Man Logan comic book series, hence the adapted designation, and envisions a world in which no new mutants are born, and Logan, a.k.a. Wolverine, is a scarred hero and a relic of the past. The key to this thing is usually, and we'll go through those films as well, too. Usually we're relegated to the, hey, nice special effects. Hey, good, nice pretty bells and whistles to a movie. This one actually acknowledged the script to a movie in a mainstream Marvel character.
Yeah.
Mr. Gomez, I'll start with you. Does this signify a turning point?
Well, because my background is in the industry, I want to point out a few nuts and bolts here. We're in what will be in the future dubbed as late-stage Fox Studios releases. These are the final ones of relevance to this audience before Disney just takes it over and absorbs it. And what happened is that I think there were a few sets of filmmakers who were very frustrated by the production process of these giant mega X-Men movies, which were not resulting in emotional resonance. These movies were not selling action figures. They were not cultivating a close relationship with its audience. And this was frustrating for a number of filmmakers who loved these characters, including Hugh Jackman himself. So the object of the game with Fox is all down to accounting. If you keep the budget below a certain number, well, you can kind of do what you feel like doing instead of what we tell you to do, right? And that's where you got Deadpool, and that's where you got Logan.
I'll go with you first next time, Hassan.
Yeah, it would have been a lot quicker. That movie sucked.
I was going to say it's a tough follow. Way to insult our esteemed third.
Mine would have been much quicker. They wouldn't have been half as cerebral as that. It would have been like, nah, I didn't like it.
Yes, that's why I come here to get kicked around.
Yes, basically. It's really all I have to offer. Jeff's like, what do you guys got going on? I'm like, kicked around?
Sure. Just an hour.
We need somebody to fill that time.
We haven't kicked.
Have at it, Hassan. I want to hear your perspective.
Actually, no, I agree with you 100%. I thoroughly enjoyed the film. I just didn't know where to put it in the.
Did you think it was Oscar worthy? Because you know what, and this is something.
Gladiator was Oscar worthy. Braveheart was Oscar worthy. Why not Logan?
Yeah,
it's in the same kind of caliber of that. It's got that same kind of heart to it. Where,
sure.
Your hero gives his absolute all, and ends up giving his last, for whatever cause that he's spoiler for whatever cause that he's
Canada.
championing.
Whatever it is, Canada, is like a safe haven in this movie. I don't know why. I'm not sure.
One of the things that I think the film
he's
does
Canadian.
deserve credit for is the fact that there is a deep emotional resonance to the film. Particularly, I mean, a lot of people say, well, why wasn't Wonder Woman nominated?
Don't get ahead of us.
Well,
we're going to go through snubs in a little bit.
There's a potency, I think, to Wolverine, combined with the kind of artfulness that elevated it and made Academy members, voters, actually say, you know what, this actually moved me, and that doesn't happen very frequently in this genre.
And here's the thing too, right? And I'll go back to why I think this should be Oscar worthy in the sense it is really a grounded film. I mean, mutants are the backdrop, and it's the thing that moves things along. But you have a movie like Get Out, right? I mean, Get Out's a horror movie. Right, but that got nominated for Best Picture. That got nominated for Best Director. Don't get me wrong. I'm not comparing the two in terms of the social consciousness, in terms of the looking at like today's society and all that stuff. But in a sense, I could go in and I can watch Logan, not need to know anything about X-Men, not need to know anything about Wolverine, not need to know anything about it. You just see a protagonist who is older, who has been through a lot, who has seen everything, going through a crisis of some kind. And there's a lot of moving performances. I think Patrick Stewart really shines in the movie. So to me, I wasn't shocked by that. Now, it's funny, you mentioned the Wonder Woman not being part of anything. We had you in here about a year ago, well, maybe a little less than that, and we were talking about the Wonder Woman movie. And everything you actually said, very spot on about the script, because at that point it was still just a script. We didn't see the finished product. Suffers in the third act, kind of goes off into this Greek god, area, and kind of loses us a little bit.
I got juice.
Yeah, but that's the thing. So I look at Wonder Woman and go, no, that was a good popcorn movie. I mean, women are taking that as like this, feminist iconic, moment, and I'm looking at it from a superhero perspective, going, it's a very good superhero movie, right? I mean, Hassan, what do you? Any quarrels in terms of Wonder Woman not getting nominated for anything in terms of screenplay? I mean, people really took to that movie, but I think we're all on the same page as that, right?
To be nominated. Well, it cultural significance. If there was a category
Tremendous,
for that,
and that it's worth it for that.
Right.
But it doesn't quite stick the landing, and
No,
Logan did
agreed.
a little bit more.
Right. It didn't have significant emotional resonance throughout. All the way through, and unfortunately, being a cultural icon for a much neglected demographic is not reason enough to attribute an Academy Award to it. But I mean, that stuff will change, hopefully.
Let's talk a little bit more about some of the logistics of the Academy. I'm a member of the Academy,
which we will do.
Okay.
when we come back. But before we come back, when we come back. There was, cultural significance.
When we come back.
Shh, I'm ad-libbing. Just go with it. Just have faith in me. One movie that did get nominated for an Academy Award. Very polarizing, indeed. When we come back.
You're listening to the Talking Alternative Network.
Are you stuck in a rut? Negative thoughts, feelings, and conversations got you down? Hi, I'm Noreen Sumter, the Potentiator. Tune in every Tuesday, 9 to 10 Eastern Time, and listen for new ideas on my show, Beyond Potential. Live life your way on talkradio.nyc.
Who do you want to connect with?
Are you an entrepreneur or intrapreneur looking to build your following?
Welcome to our show.
Follow Me Friday with Joan
and Priya.
Tune in every Friday at noon Eastern
on talkradio.nyc.
We're your digital connectors. Woo
Talking Alternative Radio, 24 hours a day.
Now in theaters, Beauty and the Beast is out, and there's big controversy with two because of the supposed gay relationship that takes place, you know.
And I thought the
outskirts.
real controversy would be about the bestiality.
Bestiality is not a problem.
Oh yeah,
it's just
yeah,
homosexuality. We don't like that. Having sex with a giant beast, that's all right.
Secrets of the Sire.
Welcome back to Secrets of the Sire. We do this every Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern. Talkradio.nyc and Facebook.com/Secrets of the Sire. Thank you for all that are watching us in the live stream. We've got some brand new equipment. We got some brand new sets, stage, all that fun stuff. So if you're listening to us on the podcast, continue to download our podcast. However, also watch us on the Facebook stream because it's pretty exciting. We're very excited. Joined by Mr. Jeff Gomez, and as always, my co-host, Mr. Hassan Godwin. And we were talking, well, actually, we were talking about a bunch of stuff, and we're going to segue into Last Jedi. But first, Jeff, you were talking about the Academy itself.
Oh, you gave it away.
What do you mean?
You gave it away. You said about the Academy Award we were going to...
Well, I also was showing like a slideshow of Last Jedi. During the commercial
Wow,
break, so.
you stepped on your own lead.
No. I am now 100%. Remember we had this whole episode about how movie trailers are giving away the entire movie before we
you're
watch
100%
it?
cinematic.
I'm behind it now.
Okay.
I'm like, that's it.
Okay.
I've jumped on board.
I got you.
Statistics. Strategery.
It's biennial.
As a member of the Producers Guild, I get access to the people who vote and who vote for things like the Academy Awards, and they're human beings like anybody else, and so they'll see Wonder Woman and love Wonder Woman, and then a few months later see the character in this Justice League thing and go, you know, I'm not going to vote for Wonder Woman anymore.
Yeah.
Truly, it actually impacts their feeling about the character and about the role. It's a subtle kind of psychological thing, but this is what they talk about. But the good side of all this is that the median age, the average age of an Academy member is between 45 and 55 years old.
Yeah.
So they read Chris Claremont X-Men. These people are kind of, you know, our peers, and so it validates Logan and says, you know what, I grew up with this character, I know this character, and this is a great portrayal of this character. I'm going to vote for it.
You know, it's funny you mentioned that too, because I actually was saying with the nomination. So last year and the year before with the Oscars So White campaign, it got more diversity within the, and not in a cheapened sense, right? I mean, it basically woke up the Academy to, we need to be more inclusive, we need to have more diversity, because it seemed like 70-year-old white men were basically voting for the Academy, right? And so it's a positive, and it's good that we got that in there, right? But now we're also seeing, you know, from a generational standpoint, you know, as those older Academy members who aren't involved, I mean, that was one of the big, you know, sticking points to, hey, if this person has not been involved in movies in years, their membership should kind of expire, and they should bring in younger generation.
Well,
and we kind of see this now in a social media sense. You know, the people that are making all the things that we love grew up on all the stuff that we love.
That's right.
And they're slowly kind of, phasing out. So do you see a time, I mean, Hassan, do you see a time where Best Picture nominees are not necessarily like Tom Hanks in The Post, even though that didn't get nominated? I know that for a fact.
Yeah.
But it is more like Get
and then
Out.
they made a big deal.
It is more out, yeah.
Yeah, I can see it now. I can see also, this particular year of Academy Awards is a kind of a backlash I sense to the last few years of the the Oscars so white and all these other movements, also the Me Too movement. There's a lot of scrambling to compensate, and maybe there's overcompensation. Not necessarily a bad thing, but there's a lot of overcompensation in making sure that as many categories are filled with like never before have we seen, like never before has a horror movie, never before a comic book movie, never before. So that kind of
it'll be very interesting to see if it carries over the next few years.
Right. Yeah. 3 years from now, we'll be right. We could be right back in the same place, and everyone's like, "Oh,
hopefully
yeah."
not.
No. Yes.
Being that my last name ends with a Z.
What's wrong with the Italians? The vowel at the end. Hey, the vowel at the end.
All right. Okay. Fair enough.
So let's just run through. Let's do a quick run through before we get into, because we could literally do the entire show on Last Jedi. I mean, look, Last Jedi got into the Academy Awards under the technical categories
for the typical stuff that they nominate all Star Wars movies for.
Do they basically just for like score and sound editing? They're just like, we don't even know what this is. Let's just vote for like the loudest.
Ben Burtt's been nominated 1 billion times, and he's won a couple of times.
Yeah.
But I mean, like literally.
For the record, the technical categories are usually voted on by people who are within those fields.
Okay, so they do recognize that.
Not,
and they're like,
right,
hey, that's pretty good. Okay.
Yes.
They have no idea what they're talking about. They have no idea.
Well, technically, it was a technically beautiful film.
It was.
It was the sound was technically wonderful.
That light speed, that was a great scene.
Which is ironic because
no sound.
Yes. But ironically, the sequence in I think the Attack of the Clones where they use a seismic charge on Obi-Wan's little ship.
That's right.
And the sound dropped out just before it went off. Ben Burtt had to literally almost strangle George Lucas to get him to do that.
Wow.
He just could not. He did not understand silence in the movie.
Wow.
So the whole fact that years later we see the main beautiful sequence in this one movie that's very subversive and very controversial is a completely silent scene. You know,
yeah,
that's pretty amazing.
It's the fortune of the universe smiling down. Everything came together at that moment.
No.
So let's run down the Oscar noms because there's a couple that I highlighted and I thought it was actually pretty cool in the sense that maybe that's a commentary on how far these comic book movies, superhero movies, how this stuff is, in the 80s, if you were Batman, you could kiss an Oscar nomination goodbye in another movie, right? Like if you were dressed up in a costume, there is no way an Oscar voter is going to vote you for your serious role. They're not going to take you seriously. And now,
unless it was a period costume.
Right. I meant tights of some kind. Now it's like leather and armor and all that fun stuff. But now it's kind of seems like everything's kind of moving about, right?
Yes.
So I highlighted Get Out because it's a horror movie and that kind of fits into our pop culture genre here too. But also Jordan Peele is a big superhero fan. He's made references before as well too. So good for him. Shape of Water. Shape of Water.
The Shape of Water.
Yeah, sorry, I messed that one up. Guillermo del Toro was a fan favorite for many pop culture movies. Hellboy, Pan's Labyrinth could even fall into that, and Pacific Rim.
Yeah, there's
gorgeous film. There's another example of taking a risk as far as the studio is concerned because it's a very unconventional film, but Guillermo bringing it in for such a small amount of money that it was a no-brainer.
Right.
And guys, do you know how he did that?
No, that's why we have you on.
Guillermo del Toro
he acted in every role. He's Viola Davis.
He'd have to have some shape-shifting ability.
Yeah.
He was shooting a TV series called The Strain.
Yes.
He's the
That's
true.
producer of that film.
He wrote the book.
And he co-wrote the book. Well, The Strain had a number of remarkable standing sets, and The Shape of Water is shot entirely on the standing sets of The Strain in between its final 2 seasons.
This guy.
And Abe Sapien reprised his role.
That's right.
That's right. With the costume. He brought the costume along.
With his friends.
From Hellboy. He basically is like,
we sculpted the butt. The butt just a little bit.
That was, I mean, that's a definitive comic book movie, and that's, or comic book director in that sense. Christopher Nolan, another one, Dunkirk.
Yes.
I mean, many argue he should have gotten nominated for Dark Knight, The Dark Knight, and any of those movies.
One of them was
we're getting to that
nominated for Best Picture.
No, I don't think it was.
The Dark Knight.
No, in fact,
that was when it was. They expanded
but that's when it was
to like
5,
10
though,
movies.
I thought. No, see, I thought his being snubbed.
Somebody Google.
Where's our alpha intern? Alpha intern was Dark Knight, and where's our loyal commenters here? Because Greg Matisoff would know this. Brian Everham would know this. Brian Everham, chime in right
I
now.
love how you call out the fans.
Well, yes.
In Starlight Runner, we call that validating and celebrating the participation.
Mark Pensavalli, meanwhile, chimed in and said, in terms of in the Logan comment, that we didn't follow Braveheart and Gladiator for years. Take that, Morpheus.
There you go.
Yeah.
Pensavalli scores.
Mark also wants to know, can you address The Shape of Water versus The Space Between Us? What's The Space Between Us? What am I thinking of?
Freaking Mark nailing me on live. The Space Between Us is a short film that was made several years ago about a woman who encounters a fish man in a laboratory and falls in love with him.
So The Shape of Water?
Well,
but not done as well.
It's gorgeous. The short film is gorgeous.
Okay.
So it's actually going to be a little bit of a problem for Guillermo. When stuff like this crops up, whether it's real or not real, it's a dent on the Best Picture voting.
Well, good. I hope the same thing happens to Counterpart, which ripped off my new comic book, which is coming out. It's in previews now. It's in previews now. It's called The Mainstream. It's with Talon Caldwell and I. We co-created with Darren Sanchez as well, another former. Sure. And some temporal accident that happens 30 years ago splits reality. All right, go pick up The Mainstream. We do it much better. Ours is about cops. Theirs is about J.K. Simmons. Shameless plug is over. We're going to move on to... so here's the cool part, right? Blade Runner, we covered Blade Runner on our show. We thought that was a beautiful movie. Son, that was like your movie of the year, right? My movie of the year was Logan, ironically enough. I thought it broke new grounds, was kind of... was new and different at the same time, familiar and fun. Sure. Hassan's was Blade Runner, which I can't argue with. It's not. I'm not sitting there going like, "Oh, how do I pick something that's terrible? How do I pick something that's great over something that's great?" Right.
Best cinematography, best visual effects, best production design, best film editing.
That's Blade Runner.
That's
2049.
No, that's Dark Knight.
Oh, Dark Knight.
Yeah.
Oh.
Didn't win Best Picture, right? Or didn't get nominated?
Nominated.
Not that I can see.
No, because that was the outcry from Dark Knight. Not being nominated expanded the field the next year.
Oh, there you go.
Which was a big shaft on them because, Bane wasn't good enough 3 years later.
Wasn't.
So we've got all these really cool, it's funny. So we go through this. Blade Runner is nominated in like a bunch of different things.
Mm-hmm. And well-deserved.
And well-deserved, I think it absolutely is. Logan was nominated in a very important category, which was adapted screenplay.
Right.
Visual effects, though, is just filled with stuff. Blade Runner, Guardians of the Galaxy 2, War of the Planet of the Apes, Kong Skull Island, which I watched recently and I thought was phenomenal in terms of just an enjoy. I just, on a Saturday night when I had nothing else to do and I'm just like, I don't want to think too hard. Just give me something. Yeah. Give me something entertaining.
I've been in those positions. Like, should I eat a bullet or should I watch Kong?
And then, of course, the most polarizing of all, and we will get to this next segment: Star Wars: The Last Jedi.
You're listening to the Talking Alternative Network.
Are you into comics, movies, and pop culture at large? What about music and TV? Then you're in for a treat. This is Michael Dolce, your host on TalkingAlternative.com. I've been professionally writing comic books, screenplays, and music articles for almost 15 years. Catch my show, Secrets of the Sire, at its new primetime slot, Wednesdays, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, and get the inside scoop on the pop culture universe you love to talk about. For more info, go to secretsofthesire.com.
Talking Alternative Radio, 24 hours a day.
The superpower you wish you had?
Teleportation.
Ooh.
There you go.
I always go flight. I'm always like, I want to fly.
You teleport, you don't need to fly.
Right.
You'd never be late for work.
That's what you would do. This is why you're the co-host of a middling podcast, because you don't dream big enough.
Because I can't teleport. If I could teleport, you think I would be sitting here right now?
You'd be on time.
Secrets of the Sire.
Welcome back to Secrets of the Sire. We do this every Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern, talkradio.nyc. We're just rolling through this. This is just, I mean, it's so great. I mean, don't get me wrong. We would have figured out stuff to talk about, but it's great to actually have legit
Don't
stuff.
tell people that
to
we
talk
have
about.
to figure out what to talk about.
I didn't realize you had a whole script with every word you're saying written
Yes.
on that
It's
computer
amazing.
file.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Meanwhile, you and I
I'm
have to wing it.
shocked. Yeah, we're just making it up. as
We got to go cold.
Somebody
Occasionally-
writes for him.
Occasionally, I wing it.
Oh.
Yes, and we can tell them to.
And then the writer gets mad. That writer is me. It's like, no, stick to the script. Stick to the script. Mark Pensavalli once again chimed in. Seriously, Skull Island?
Exactly, because that movie was.
No, but it was a lot of fun.
It was amusing.
Watching it on HBO.
Crap!
Right. It's an HBOer.
I saw that in the theater, and I was like, crap!
See, that was your first mistake. That was your first mistake.
I looked
right
over
there.
at a friend of mine, like, what's happening? What's going on?
And meanwhile, he's like, Last Jedi was great.
Why was Samuel L. Jackson so pissed off?
I don't know.
The whole film,
I know.
from the beginning to the
He
end,
literally was losing his mind with anger.
before they met the giant ape.
The monkey was killing the cockroaches.
But you know,
leave the monkey
what?
alone.
You know what? At least his motivations were blatant, and his motivations were consistent throughout, right?
Yes,
like I can sit there and say
when he's a hard ass from the start to the finish, you can call him consistent.
you can sit there and go like, well, I don't necessarily buy that, but at least he's sticking with it. So it's not as if you're sitting there questioning at the end of the day, like
I don't buy this, but at least it's
consistent, right?
Yeah, at least
opposed
it's
to certain
a
other
through
movies.
line. Yeah, it's a
as
through
opposed
line.
to certain other movies where you're sitting there going like, what? I don't understand what just happened. But why?
So
but I
many
thought that
times.
he didn't. But
So
now,
many times.
right? Like
So many movies.
you take that, Mark Pensavalli. You take
Okay.
that. You take
Take
that.
it, Mark.
All right, so we're gonna get to the monkey in the room.
Just say the word. Say the word. Say the title of the damn film.
Star Wars: Last Jedi got nominated
gosh.
for several Oscars, but
Egash.
none of the good ones.
Of course
which
not.
Is good.
But this is consistent. This is not a backlash
That's
to.
not a surprise.
We're gonna
Yeah.
we're gonna take a detour from the Oscar talk. I just really that was more or less a fishhook to talk. Jeff, you wrote a blog article
Yes.
that you were kind enough to send over to us. It's on the Collective Journey. So go to what's the address for Collective Journey? Is it
It's blog.collectivejourney.com, but you can just look up Jeff Gomez on Medium. Medium.com.
perfect?
Oh,
there you go.
There you go.
I'm glad
And,
we're going to talk about this.
the piece was called "The Self-Disruption of Star Wars."
Okay, so let me preface before we go into the details of it.
Sure.
Hassan really likes you. He really respects you. He thinks you're a great person.
Did it just
and
get
he
warmer in here?
He respects everything about you.
Mm-hmm.
And
All true.
woefully disagrees. All right. I'm going to preface it. Go ahead, Jeff. Give us the Give us the 30-second theme of your blog post.
The gist of the post is that it's my job to explain to people in Hollywood and people in the entertainment industry why fans are responding the way they are, and what strategies can be employed, not just to please fans, but to make sure that your franchise kind of replenishes itself and lasts for a long time, because you've invested hundreds of millions of dollars. These things have to keep going. So in the self-disruption of Star Wars, I posit, with some inside information, Mr. Godwin.
I'm sure you have inside information.
That there was a method to the madness of the movie.
Yeah.
Essentially...
But we agree it was madness.
Yes.
Essentially, Bob Iger, the CEO of Disney, and Kathleen Kennedy, the president of Lucasfilm, took the responsibility to kind of take Star Wars and come to understand that if you keep repeating the same exact story over and over again, you're going to have problems. It's going to burn out. In fact, the last set of Star Wars movies received very mixed reviews and didn't do quite as well financially as one had hoped. And so Star Wars could easily fade away into nothingness. So what do you have to do? Not just to please hardcore fans or even American fans, you now have to introduce this franchise to the entire planet in a big way, and get people to engage with it in a way almost as if they hadn't seen it before.
Sure.
And in order to do that, there's a concept called self-disruption, where you basically kind of break some of your toys,
sure,
in order to kind of fix them, in order to get them to grow bigger, to engage larger audiences, to bring more women into Star Wars, which has been effective, to get international audiences to engage more, so that they see themselves on the screen. And this led to a number of creative decisions, I think, in the movie that some hardcore fans felt were, not satisfying.
All that I agree with. And Hassan and I were actually talking about the articles. You sent it over today, and we read it, and it was spot on. All the points you're hitting. My question, Hassan's question is, why couldn't you still make a good movie? I don't mean to talk. I don't mean to talk for you, Hassan, but that was essentially your answer. And my question is, why'd you have to do this as a part 2?
Well, the one of the main things about it is that whereas I don't believe your article is incorrect, I believe that the hysteria behind the Skywalker lineage being the special lineage, I think that notion in and of itself is debunked by the prequels, which are maligned.
I do agree with you.
They are maligned, but it's not. I mean, he may have been the chosen one, but there were definitely thousands of others who had the same capabilities. So we are only.
They're not saving the universe,
right? But we're
and this was about what Kathleen Kennedy was looking at was white savior syndrome. And she decided to snap that off
the savior's
right
still
in
white.
the middle of the.
She's female now, so it's totally okay.
I actually believe that Rey is not our sole salvation. That we're switching.
I'm glad you said that.
To a more a collective solution,
right?
To the problem.
So we now have Poe and we have Finn, and a number of other characters, all whom were rendered completely neutered by this film, completely ineffective or ineffectual in their exploits throughout the film to bring about any kind of lasting change. And they were the head of a wonderful resistance organization that got slaughtered to a man almost by the end of the story, until the white guy shows up as a hologram and saves everybody. So it's kind of
I like how you reference he's like Force Skype?
Force Skype. Yes. So it's kind of like, I get what they're trying to do, but it's like they didn't have the guts to follow through with what they were trying to do.
They're not done. There's one more picture. And the thing I do credit the film for is that if you look at big saga film series, whether it's Twilight or Harry Potter, even the Marvel movies, this is the first time in my memory.
Yeah, this part is fascinating.
That the whole story and many of the characters in that story actually stop and go, what are we doing? Right? DJ says, hey, there's you guys don't even understand what's going on. These people are making cash off both your asses. And Luke and
Ray, yeah,
I do agree with that.
Yoda is saying it, and even poor Kylo is like, burn it all down. It sucks. Right. We keep making the same mistake over and over again.
But it's strange, though.
But think about that, guys, just in terms of mythology. And to go back to Gilgamesh and the Odyssey and all these great narratives.
We're getting away from the Campbellian storyline.
It is moving away from the Campbellian structure, which I think is really interesting.
Which is fascinating, and I want to talk to you about that for hours. I'm not
After
kidding.
the show, we have 20 minutes left.
Yes, of course. However, you can't. I subject to you that you can't really introduce that in the middle of in the penultimate episode of a series.
So here's again
in the middle of a trilogy.
Some inside baseball. They're in a hurry.
Very obvious.
This film is in a super hurry.
Yeah,
and I think that works for them in terms of getting to the disruption quickly.
Yeah.
Because they didn't waste any time and don't particularly care that hardcore fans are aggravated by what's happening. A JJ will fix it. That's their mentality, and there is a plan. Something I have a feeling the next film is going to be
phase one, make a lot of money. Phase two,
no.
Phase three, profit.
Phase two is not meh. It's self-destruction.
Phase one, click underpants.
They're going to break themselves a little bit in order to move on, and so they're in a hurry, and also something that is working a little bit against them, I believe, is this insistence that every single year there is a new Star Wars picture. It is increasing the velocity of screenwriting, which your problems are all rooted in not in the picture,
correct,
it's in the script, and on top of that, you're dealing with licensing and merchandising, and Last Jedi toy sales are down significantly from Force Awakens.
Well, they're also terrible toys.
Well, the designs were not conducive, I think, to toys. Han Solo will be, from what I've seen. The Han Solo
I think that
ships
movie,
are going to be pretty cool.
Despite all the issues that it's had, is going to be like a breath of fresh air for the Star Wars franchise. I think that's the best way. And the funny thing
Fingers crossed.
The funny thing is, you even said this, right? They were worried that the brand was going to, fade away. There was nothing wrong with it. I mean, it's like, well, it didn't make quite as many billions as it did the first time.
Well, the other
there was some strange aftertaste from the prequel trilogy that was hard to shake. Of course,
but the other problem with it is that they're saying the notion of we have to alter the marketing profile of this so that we can keep it going, but nobody told you to keep it going. The story came to an end.
I know.
Not only this, but the notion that this is happening over and over. That's another problem with the Last Jedi, is that the Jedi need to stop because the Jedi have, the Jedi are constantly battling the Sith, and there's constantly destruction.
Right.
No, the last battle with the Sith was 1,000 years before that. So I think if you average, every 1,000 years you have a little hiccup and a whole bunch of people get wiped out. That's actually still good averaging.
Hassan, your thought process is
logical,
unique.
All right, when we come back, please keep chiming in on the Facebook feed. But when we come back, X-Men Shakeup. We got some. We got some movies getting shifted around in the X universe, and we want to get your take, Jeff. Insider take on the Disney-Fox merger.
Got it.
You're listening to the Talking Alternative Network.
Are you a conscious co-creator? Are you on a quest to raise your vibration and your consciousness? I'm Sam Leibowitz, your conscious consultant, and on my show, The Conscious Consultant Hour, Awakening Humanity, we will touch upon all these topics and more. Listen live at our new time on Thursdays at 12 noon Eastern Time. That's The Conscious Consultant Hour, Awakening Humanity, Thursdays 12 noon on talkradio.nyc.
Are you feeling unhappy with your body, shape, or size? Ever feel out of control with food? I'm Elizabeth from Nourish the Soul, and on the show, you will uncover the root to these imbalances and discover a permanent solution to having a healthy relationship to food and your body. Join us every Thursday morning at 11 a.m. Eastern Time on talkradio.nyc.
TalkingAlternative.com.
Funny story about that. I read it and sold all of those books on eBay, and I got an angry seller that wrote back to me saying, "How dare you say this is mint condition? There was stains from breakfast on one of the pages." I had a harsh lesson in what is mint versus not as mint.
Is that what you call a funny story?
Secrets of the Sire.
Welcome back to Secrets of the Sire, where it is sad and pathetic that we were laughing at our own drops.
Our own Kool-Aid.
We're like drinking our own Kool-Aid.
This is unbelievable.
We're like, that was hilarious. We're so funny. We're such a great show.
I'm trapped in a world I never made.
We are a great show, and you should all be lucky that you're listening.
Yes.
No, I take that back. That was really good.
Yes, taunt the audience like Disney does.
Melody Washington Hannibal said, "That black guy speaks so well."
Yeah.
That's what she said.
He didn't used to. It's amazing.
That's my crazy sociopathic aunt.
The evolution of Godwin.
Mark Pensavalle, who is with us to the end.
Pestering us.
I love
Pestering.
it. The intent of The Last Jedi was noble and daring. The execution was very flawed, which Brian Everham responded, "Oh, there was execution, the franchise." But I mean, your whole argument is they're putting the bullet in something now that something.
Why? Why was it necessary to murder?
I agree. There was no reason to.
They're not murdering. They murdered. It'll be looked at as a glitch. Remember, like before you guys were born, there was something called The Empire Strikes Back.
No, I was born.
And people,
he saw it in
opening day.
People freaked about that movie.
Sure,
they did. There was a lot of negativity. The movie did only a fraction of what Star Wars did in terms of its box office. People said, "Oh, Darth Vader's lying," and had any number of complaints about that film. Jedi comes after it, and all is forgiven.
That was back when the message boards were and the internet were the tin cans.
That's right.
Like between tree houses.
Yeah, that's
right. So you were like,
but the thing is, then there was the prequels,
Oh.
and no one's gotten over that yet.
No.
So there you go. So there's an outlier.
We're
an outlier to the argument.
We're gonna touch upon that another day because I want to get through my outline here. So.
Way to make the show seem spontaneous by telling everybody you're reading from the script.
So the original idea for the show tonight, having Jeff on, was to talk about the Disney-Fox merger.
Yeah. You spent a lot of time telling us about what you planned on doing.
But we're doing it right now.
Be nice.
We're doing it right now. So
I'm not nice.
So we're gonna cue this. We're gonna cue this up as part of our weekly segment, which is Spinning the Racks.
Spin around, spin around.
Available as a ringtone next week. Not kidding.
How do I get out of this?
I actually have
outfit?
I actually have a techno remix for that as well too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we're gonna bring that up as well too.
Right, great.
This is a great. Well, actually, there's two great articles that segue into this: X-Men Shakeup, Deadpool 2, Gambit, the New Mutants get new dates. Talking about the future of the X-Men universe, Fox is shaking up the release schedule of X-Men movies, giving Deadpool 2, New Mutants, and Gambit new opening dates. Deadpool will move from June 1st to May 18th. This move puts the action comedy against Sony's Slender Man, which, whatever. But more importantly, has it opening 1 week before Solo, a Star Wars movie. The strategy, says that even second weeks have been very strong for Star Wars movies, so therefore I would think Deadpool 2 would kill Solo. I feel like it would kill it after, unless it's terrible, right? Does it mean that it's terrible that they're moving it up?
No, it doesn't actually. I think that it denotes some degree of confidence.
Okay.
When you put a film a little bit earlier in the season, especially leading into the summer releases, it's okay. They're happy with it.
They're happy with it. All right, so that's good. That's what we want to know. We want to know that Deadpool 2 is not going to be horrible. Even though the original Deadpool was like really fun,
yes,
I didn't think it was as great as everyone made it out to be. But
clearly you didn't, Mike Dolce.
I did not.
Clearly you didn't.
I did not. New Mutants getting moved. What do you think about that?
Good.
Yeah, these are this stuff. It's funny because this sort of thing never made the news because nobody cared when.
Right. Now we're starved for news,
exactly.
like our show. We are starved. We want this stuff.
So they jockey depending on who's releasing what when, and in the studios they have these giant electronic boards with every release for the next 3 years, month by month.
We do too, but you just can't see it. It's
behind the banners.
It's that wall.
Yeah.
Oh shoot! You can see us on talkingalternative.com if you're streaming us on that. That's just a picture
it's in
of
your
some fish.
computer.
In between the crystals, the star crystals.
New Mutants, Josh Boone's horror-tinged take on Marvel's teen heroes gets pushed back 10 months, which I thought was crazy, but insiders say the reason for the change is the studio avoids overlapping with X-Men movies in other marketplaces overseas. So they would have been in theaters at this exact same time.
It stands to reason. Look, New Mutants is again, finally... Again, in the twilight of Fox, they are doing interesting things with the franchise and subjecting them to subgenres and things like that. The superhero horror film.
Sure,
that's interesting. You know,
actually, it looks really cool.
And then the studio's going to wink out of existence.
And meanwhile, and I'll flash a picture on screen if you're watching us on Facebook right now. Gambit sees its release date moved to February 2019 to June. Sorry, from February 2019 to June 2019 because it just lost its director.
That's a football that's been kicked down the field.
I have a feeling
for a decade now.
When we invite Jeff on,
that picture is terrible.
There's a reason I put that picture up there.
Dude,
come on!
I did my homework on this.
I believe you did.
I worked hard,
but you don't got to kick him in the head like that.
But look. Anybody who's listening to us on iTunes, which you should, it's great. Download us. Go to YouTube.
Wasting time.
Download us as well too. There is a picture of Gambit from one of the cartoon series, and it just looks horrible. But there's a reason for it because I feel like that movie is never coming out, and maybe
we
that's
already
a good
had
thing.
Gambit in X-Men
And he was the best part of that movie, right? I mean, there was not a lot of good in that movie, and he was the best part.
Nah, I would say Liev Schreiber has a...
The opening sequence was the best part of that movie.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Right?
Easily.
We all agree?
Easily.
Even though it's bad for ratings?
I don't know if I would put Gambit anywhere in the best category.
So, Jeff, we're running down with some time, so give us some insight into the Fox Marvel, Fox Disney merger. I mean, what are you hearing? What do you think? What are we expecting in terms of like what's going to actually, come of that? Is it going to be as monumental as we think it is?
Well, for fanboys, it's certainly going to be. Overall, what Disney is doing is it's taking out an opponent, and it's an opponent that actually wasn't terribly strong. Fox hadn't had many big franchises. There were, lots of kind of misfires, particularly in the genre films, and and yet there were tons and tons of assets. And let's face it, Rupert Murdoch is retiring, and he wants a big send off.
Sure.
And owning a giant piece of Disney is a good send off for Rupert Murdoch. With regard to what we love, I think you're going to see some really remarkable. I think it dictates an entire phase of Marvel's superhero movies, Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Is that going to disrupt what they've already got planned? Or is it just too far out to even?
You know what? I think they were the muscles were really flexing to take these third and fourth tier characters and lift them and make them as enjoyable as they were. It's going to be a little easier, I think, to do that with Fantastic Four, X-Men, and Deadpool. And yes, Deadpool is going to continue to be released.
Yeah, I read that. R-rated. R-rated, and all that fun stuff.
That's cool. A little inside baseball from little birds. The big win is a Hugh Jackman Wolverine with Spider-Man. Why? Spider-Man is the #1 superhero merchandise generator anytime ever. So combining those two characters. And Hugh is willing to do it. Will be remarkable.
Don't do it, Hugh. All right, so this is the thing. We actually talked
now
about
he's getting an Academy Award for his potentially getting an Academy Award for his send off, and he's just gonna come back.
He wants to put his kids through college.
Look, we did this last week, and we're doing it this week. I think Hugh Jackman needs to hang up the claws, and I don't mean it in the sense of his performance. I think this merger is the perfect opportunity to get a new actor in here that's going to be with us for the next 15 years. If you're going to do it, don't do it now. Don't come back now for one movie and then we have to go like Doug Ray Scott as Wolverine or Bob Hoskins, which is what Chris Claremont wanted originally. Just you did it. You had your send off, right? I mean, Hassan, you wanted Hugh Jackman back though? You did, right?
Yeah.
Damn it.
Despite everything you just said, I don't like when they kill off heroes. I'm just one of those guys. Like Braveheart. I'm like, nah.
He will have to evolve into another actor at some point or another.
Yeah,
but there are a number of opportunities in the Marvel Cinematic Universe for something like that to happen.
And Hugh Jackman is just cha-ching. It's like he knows he can get in on that. Everybody in the world wants to get into MCU.
Next week, we will full on debate why Hugh Jackman should hang up the claws.
No, we won't. We'll talk about something else next
and Newsarama's Chris
We'll
Arant helps us break down the must-read comic books and comic book movie tie-ins in the comic book world from Newsarama coming on next week. Mr. Jeff Gomez, where can everyone find you?
Hey, at Jeff_Gomez on Twitter. Starlight Runner Entertainment on Facebook, Jeff Gomez also on Facebook, and check out my blog on Medium, Collective Journey.
How's that underscore working? Because people have a real problem with it. I have the underscore too. People hate that.
There are a bunch of Jeff Gomez's out there who are completely annoyed with me.
We love you guys. We will see you next week. Coming up next is The Governor's House on talkradio.nyc.
You're listening to the Talk